so that we have this recorded as well. All right. So this is a workshop called Speak Your Truth and Be an Agent for Change for the Awaken Life Tribe community. And I'm starting to create, we're looking at creating several kind of paths as we develop even more specificity for the community in the coming year. And this is more the yang path, meaning we are looking at, this is kind of the yin and yang path, but this should really be called the yin yang path, meaning you learn to find your voice, but it's really about action. It's really about being an agent for change. It's about taking action in your life in a way that you actually have an opportunity to become an agent for change and not just sit back and watch the world go by. Welcome, Todd. Hi, Todd. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. So what does it mean to be an agent for change in 2022? What does that even mean, right? What does it mean when you are somebody who makes a difference in this time, who makes a difference in this world, who makes a difference in your community, and who makes a difference in your home, and who makes a difference with spirit, with consciousness? You know, whether you are, whatever you do for a living, whether you have children or don't have children, whether you are single or married, whether you're a professional healer and coach like Janet and I are, or if your job is working for a local municipality in schools or with trash management, whatever you do, you can make a difference every day with how you use your voice and how you speak truth. Right, Janet?
Yes, ma'am. I muted myself, so I didn't have any background noise.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Like leadership is everywhere, right? Leadership isn't just, I'm spiritual, so I am a Reiki. Sorry, I'm not making fun of you or making fun of me, although maybe a little bit. But it's not just our spiritual roles that help us to be agents for change. And I say this specifically in this community. Certain communities don't need to hear that, right? But in the spiritual community, it's helpful to remember that we get to stand for everyone, not just with our philosophies, but for individuals to be agents for change in their own way, in their own right. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you because I'm looking at you. So I was like engaging you, but I don't really have any questions. Is there anything you wanted to say there?
I think, yes, you mentioned like the home, but even in the workplace too, standing up for changes in the workplace, maybe things aren't, maybe there's not equality taking place, and standing in your truth and for what's alive right now, more of
Beautiful.
the equality piece.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So the next piece is, yes, remember that you and Sacred Source are responsible for creating new ways of speaking your truth, and that it's not out of your control or out of your power to actually speak and make a difference with your voice. Your voice absolutely matters, and you get to create changes in your life and changes in the world by finding your voice. And in fact, it is in a way, it is a responsibility. But what I want to impart here is just a reminder to you that you have the power to create changes through being in a new way. And we're going to get more into that. And Janet's going to be really breaking down ways of being and what may be keeping you from speaking your truth in a little bit. But for now, just remember that you have the power to create new ways of being in your life that will affect the world, that can affect your world and the world. Hoffman, if I say something you like feel this itch to jump in, I'm just going to trust you'll just jump right in. Okay. Yeah. Great. And another reminder is that it's not, there's not just one way to speak your truth. You know, somebody was messaging me last night. I'm going to protect her privacy, but it was a really wonderful Facebook chat we were having about, you know, the struggle of finding your voice in a community that's different than, say, your job. And I'm going to take that a little further. It could be different from your family. Maybe with your friends or your spiritual friends, you feel really safe. But with other communities, you can't express yourself. Or at work, you can communicate one way, but then at home, you definitely can't talk that way, or vice versa. And so we each get to learn to integrate the parts of ourselves that may be split, that may, you know, be running different stories. And, you know, when we connect with the heart, and we're going to, again, get into this more at the end, you know, ways literally to integrate your identities with your heart, you can really find your voice and your truth that's unified. And this is a process of being able to land with people because you're coming from your heart and being in the authentic refuge of an unwavering love that will always guide you and protect you to speak your truth. And that way is your way. It is your unique voice and your unique way to express yourself in any given moment. And so the next piece is to look at what's your core truth speaking pattern. Do you talk too much? Maybe. Maybe sometimes I do, which makes me on track as having a career as a speaker. Or do you tend to stay quiet?
And for me, you know, really tuning into my voice and coming into my voice and learning that really my voice is my magic.
Yeah, so right. Are you here to learn lessons from staying quiet? Just to stick with the first part, because I want to touch on that, Janet. I think that's really good. But before we get into that, I just want to really stay with this focus of what your pattern, without shaming, without, you know, jumping too quickly into knowing your dharma, like we, you know, both just quickly mentioned, you know, what our lessons might be, but to really understand when you were a child, you know, you were told that children were better not seen and not heard. And so you kind of retracted and contracted and didn't open up. And this may have led you to not feeling really able to have a say in family decisions or in your intimate partnership and marriage. This may have had you feeling like you had to take subservient jobs. Or on the other side, if you're an overspeaker, perhaps you felt like you had to keep talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And actually, these two can flip. You know, you might suddenly find that you found someone who you feel safe with, and then you don't shut up. That's probably my story. No, I really, you know, I mean, you might just find that you know, you're just waiting and waiting for to finally be heard. And so you'll talk and talk and talk, or you verbally process. And most people, maybe they don't want to hold space for you to verbally process. You know, your therapist will. Your friends who have the time and interest will. Maybe you find the perfect, if you're lucky, you find the perfect partner who's a great listener. But you may find that you're not really landing with people because you're over expressing yourself. And you may be even just talking about random things and you lose people's attention. So you speak, but you can't keep their attention because you're not focused, or because you're subconsciously looking to finally feel heard. All of this is valid, and none of us are above learning these lessons. But I just invite you to make note. And if you want to share, if you're listening in the future now, in the replay, put hashtag replay in the Facebook group. Or if you're listening now, just, you don't have to share which one you are, but if you want to share which one you are, it's a safe space to do that. If you just realize that one of them is true, you can say yes, just put yes in the chat, which means to us that you know which one you are. I used to force everyone to speak up, but I don't do that as much anymore because I realize not everyone's ready. And people like their privacy, you know, they like their privacy. So we respect that. So if you can identify with one of them, just say yes in the chat. Okay. And keep moving here. So a little bit about us. I'm Narayani Gaia, and this is my beloved soul sister, Janet Hoffman. And Janet is has been working with Awaken Life School, formerly Awaken Life School, now Awaken Life Tribe, as a mentor and a student. The other way around. A student and then a mentor. And we have been, gosh, on retreats together, in healing trainings together. I think collectively we've probably seen about 20 to 30 people add on the manifest event, probably about 80 people, 30 plus 20. It's February 14th. Am I in a different time zone? I was at the beach yesterday. I was like 6 hours away. I feel like I just time traveled. So I'm still getting grounded. So pardon me, guys. Gosh, Janet, 50 people. We've seen a lot of people go through transformation together in the last bit.
Yeah, between 50 and 80.
Yeah, a lot of people through the embodiment work that we've been offering through Awaken Life School and now Awaken Life Tribe. And myself, I developed Awaken Life School. Gosh, it was born in 2018, but the methodology of embodied awakening has been developing since 2002 when I had a Kundalini awakening. And then in 2012, started teaching these integrative, cross-cultural, universal, and spiritual teachings to support people to heal their past, get present, and manifest a future rooted in the embodiment of their own unique higher self design. And it's been really sweet to have Janet with me and see people move through a lot of stuff and hold each other in positive reflection again and again. And I'm just so grateful this year Janet will be joining the staff for our new training and facilitating solo trainings. And so we wanted to do this event for you today to just share with you one of many, many, many topics that you can work through by doing embodied awakening meditation and mindfulness practices that we present through the Awakening Map 12 theme system. I'm just so honored to do this. It's been I feel like an old lady. I really do. I know I'm young and sexy at 50, but I feel like I've been doing this a long time, and the world is really thirsty and hungry to really know what awakening is now. And that many of us, including Janet, and myself, have been getting ready for this for a long time. We've been getting ready for these times. And possibly you feel that you have been getting ready for these times for a long time as well. And whether you've come to this workshop because you're called to be able to step into leadership with your voice, or you just want to speak your truth, um, with your family and your community, know that every ounce of change that you are making in the world, we are rooting you on. Whether we see you just today and never again, or we're in each other's lives for the rest of our lives. This awakening work is about everybody. It's about everyone awakening to love and finding your truth, and using your voice to be an agent of change is absolutely necessary in all levels of society at this time. So I hope I did you right, Janet, by speaking for you in that philosophy. We know each other pretty darn well.
Yes.
But I'm
I just
gonna
need to,
hand the mic over to you, and I'm just ask you, I'm sorry, just to finish this one
no,
part,
that's fine.
to just share with the community a little about your experience with the embodied awakening work, and maybe about you finding your voice. I touched a little bit on my story. On the side, I grew up in a Jewish liberal New York home, so everybody spoke too much. So for me, my path has been using my voice to speak from my body, from my heart, and being a very verbal person, finding the right rhythms and languaging where I can really land with people with my voice. So it wasn't about that I couldn't speak. It was about really fine tuning, and continues to be, how I can fine tune my messaging, not just with Awaken Life Tribe, but also with my parents, with my beloveds, with my niece and nephews, and to be able to really use my voice in a way that creates more inspiration, healing, and love, and creativity in the world. So again, whether you have my story where you didn't feel suppressed to speak, or as Janet shares some of her story, we all get to find ways to refine how we're speaking our truth, and move through the ways that we're maybe split, like I speak this way over there or not over there. And Janet, I'm going to give you the mic, and then as you tell your story in the next 3 minutes or so, I'm going to grab that play sheet that we're going to be getting into so that I can share it in the chat.
Absolutely.
Take it away, Janet Hoffman.
Thank you. Always a very humbling introduction from you. So thank you. I feel the same about you. I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the past few years is knowing that you don't have to do it alone. And the accountability piece is so important when we go into, transformational healing, and when we go into kind of deconstructing some of the ways that we play things out in the world. So my biggest deconstruct, I think, talking about speaking your truth, literally woke up one morning and heard this voice. It must have been my soul speaking to me, and it was like, this is not the rest of your life. And every morning it got louder and louder, and I was like, okay, finally I surrendered to it. And during that, I met Narayani through a co-colleague and friend. And 4 years later, here I am in sacred space, sharing sharing truths. And I probably say the biggest thing that I overcame was being seen, and showing up with the knowledge and wisdom that had been locked inside of me. Kind of in my home growing up, I was kind of like boxed in. I felt alone. I was a single child for many years. Not that my emotional needs weren't met, but, I felt like I did need to do it all by myself, and that,
Mm.
not making waves, made things easier for everybody else. My needs weren't as important. And that did come into my adult life. In my workplace, I was kind of always behind the scenes in my relationships, in my marriage, in my parenting skills,
Mhm.
tuning out my own personal self-reflection.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
cost me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Thank you for sharing all that. It's so like you're saying it with such calmness and sweetness, but I've seen your journey, and I know more about you than I'll share publicly out of respect for your personal path.
Absolutely.
But it's hard. I mean, some people, once they start finding their voice, they can't speak without crying. Or once you start to even find your truth, maybe you know how to speak in front of people, but really sharing what you're thinking, it's crying or it comes out as anger, and it becomes this really intense journey, right? Of like maybe losing a lot of people in your life who can't handle your voice, or you not really understanding how to use your voice in a way that it lands, because you just have so much stuff pent up inside. I just wanted to jump in. So
Sure.
do you want to start getting into some of those topics around clearing? Because I do have the
Yes.
document ready, and I could share it in the chat, and I will also share it in the Facebook if you're ready.
I am.
Okay, so I asked Janet to really drop in with about clearing very specific beliefs, and she made this epic chart, and she's going to explain why she chose this topic of this chart to you. But the idea is that as we clear our old stories, maybe every time you try to speak your truth, you're just pissing everyone off, or you're overly emotional, or you feel like you need to run away and hide, or maybe you're just doing drugs, maybe you're checking out like I did when I was younger. You're just really, you just can't freaking handle, I can't handle it. So she's going to get in with you to really identify what some of the energetic patterns are. And I'm going to post this. Are you ready for me to post the document? Okay. And I'm also going to post it in the Facebook group right now. So it's all you. I'm going to just mute myself for a second, but I'm here.
Okay, beautiful. So yeah, I actually don't even remember saying this, but accountability piece, right? Narayani was like, you were talking about a self-esteem checklist, and self-esteem for me, it's about learning how to hold yourself in a warm regard, even though you're going through human experience. And I get that a lot where, people are like, how do you do it? You take care of, raise 5 kids, held a job, you know, did X, Y, and Z. And, I didn't think anything of it, but now being in awareness of self, through some of the trainings, and really tuning in through meditation and alignment, with spirit, and my mind and my soul, self-esteem really became self-love. And I think that's the biggest missing piece that was, for me. And I want to share some of the patterns that may be keeping you from really finding that self-love, being in that practice of holding yourself. in that warm regard.
Can I jump in
So
for a second? Do you mind if I
yeah,
jump in? Yeah, it's interesting because like we were talking about this, right? Like a few weeks ago, and we were like, um, we were sorry, I'm trying to get something on the Facebook and it's making some weird sound. Can you hear me okay?
yeah,
Yeah. So we were talking about this a few weeks ago and we're like, well, what are, I was asking you because we kind of ask questions a lot with Awaken Life School programs. Like, what are we like? How does that make you feel? Or what's the origin of that thought? Or what's really underneath that, right? In self-exploration. And what happened, just to remind you, Janet, was I was like, hey, what do you think really keeps people from speaking their truth? And you're like, self-esteem. And I was like, wow. And you're like, I'm going to make a self-esteem checklist for the workshop. And I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome. And at that point, it was like, oh yeah, self-esteem is for somebody who doesn't have their voice. But then as I reflected on it, I realized that self-esteem is an issue for people that over-deliver as well. Because then we need to prove ourselves if we're over-delivering, right?
right,
And if you're like have a big ego, like small penis syndrome or whatever, I think women have it too, like I am amazing and I will prove it to you. I'm like, really, that's written. Like if you have self-esteem, then you don't have to necessarily prove yourself in all those ways. So I just want to name that before you get into the specificity, of what kinds of self-esteem issues people may be having, which I think is really the focus of this part of your share with the list.
yeah. Thank you for naming that
Yeah.
other aspect, other side, right?
Yes.
So if you're looking at the self-esteem checklist, we can kind of turn in these limited belief thoughts into questions. And limited belief thought it's almost like a negative thought pattern that could be repeating in your life. So, asking yourself, do you feel like you need to do it all alone? Is that scary to you? Are you needing, someone else's validation all the time to move forward with something?
Now you guys just grab it. The link is if you're watching this in the future now, or if you're watching it now, it's either in the Facebook chat or in the chat box in the Zoom room. So definitely open it up and follow along with it as Janet's going piece by piece. And then Janet, are you going to instruct them with the checkbox after, or should they just start checking now the ones that apply?
I was getting into it. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So when you're using the checklist, you can kind of turn it into a question, check the checkbox if this story kind of relates to you, or if this pattern relates to you. And, the remedy piece is what's on the other side of this dynamic. And Narayani a little bit later is going to get into the how you can dismantle that. So, going down the list, some of our negative thought patterns are, things that we've learned from ancestral trauma, from our patterning from our parents and their stories, being coded into our bodies. This can even be genetically too, anything that you're prone to getting, disease wise and whatnot. And also childhood trauma, again, yes, it can be part of the parent dynamic, but it also can be in our school systems, people that were highly influential to us, our environment. So those are some things that can really embed us with our negative thought pattern. So I went over, thinking that you have to do it all alone, knowing, do you know that you are supported, and if you don't, do a checkbox. Do you feel triggered by all the problems in the world? Are you maybe watching a little bit too much CNN? Maybe you have to disconnect from that. But some of, some of the things that may be going on in your home are very traumatic, and you kind of check out and, really disconnect from your feelings. So, the remedy of that is tuning into how to express, how you're feeling, being creative, writing poetry, sometimes getting out that, that anger or even pleasure can come out in paper, through self-expression. It doesn't always have to be verbally. And do you have different judgments and conflicting opinions with others, maybe at the workplace, in your home? So there's a lot of confusion. Maybe your workplace isn't where you need to be anymore. Maybe you've outgrown it. Maybe you're ready to step out on your own. So really, the positive self-esteem trait on the other side of that is really knowing who you are, really being in an alignment with your identity. Do you feel depleted from being around people? Being in a room with people, does that make you anxious? Does it feel like you're cluttered with everyone else's thoughts and opinions? So check that off. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I am on number 4.
Okay.
And
Right. If you
again,
feel depleted around being around other people, if you're just like, people annoy me and I always get drained, you're going to feel really cluttered, like there's not enough space, and that's going to affect all aspects of your life. And yeah, just to name that the remedy is to really clear your mind. And don't worry, we're going to help teach you how to clear your mind. So we have the remedy for the remedies, but just kind of look across and be really honest with yourself. I think if we read every single one, that
okay,
it might be a little heady.
sure.
So I think it might be fun if we could like engage back and forth.
Okay.
Do you want to just keep going with number 5, but and then we could like just talk a little about the like go horizontal now that we can all look at it together?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I like that.
Thank you.
Is it challenging for you to stay focused? Are you in constant overwhelm? That was me. So, being distracted, unfocused, putting a lot of things on your to-do list, it is a negative impact from that. And, on the other side is really getting clear and focused and, self-motivated, self-guided.
Right. And there's reasons that people may be not focused. Like, if when you were growing up, you didn't really have, you weren't encouraged to do what lit you up, or to, you felt like you were forced to concentrate on school, all of us. And there wasn't also space to focus on what, maybe you really liked making rock mountains, or maybe there was a certain kind of art and you were discouraged from doing that. You might associate focus with other people's, ideas of what you should do with your time. And that's also stuff that we get into when we get into more trainings, but just have a sense that, these are very deeply rooted limiting beliefs, and it won't necessarily be fixed from one checklist, but just for now, be gentle with yourself and start to understand that, there are simple remedies that you can not too difficultly learn to embody, but it's important to really understand the limiting belief first and be like compassionate with accepting that that might be a strong limiting belief for you. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to just give them a few moments to go through it themselves, or do you want to keep
Yeah,
going
I mean, I would like to hear what people think. Like, can you relate with any of this? Does any of this speak to you? Well, what's coming up for you? what's true for you in this? Like, what are you getting from this so far? If you want to share in the chat, or if you have any questions, we could also I might like to put on a little music and have people just kind of, fill it out on your own. And just take a moment to open it up and fill it out on your own. And then we could come back as well, just to kind of scan it. And the way that I like to do these checklists is literally, thank you, Mary, is to kind of go check. I would rather my life just happen, and then just check it. Just check that box if that's a limiting belief you have. And then start to understand your pattern. And it's going to take more than this workshop to sit with. And that's why we're going to be offering you an opportunity to go a little deeper at the end of this workshop, but just kind of go through and just kind of check. Mary says, number 5 resonates for me. Well, so do the others. Yeah. Yeah. So just
thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Yes. People are coming and going here. So whether you've been here, you're coming back in, just kind of take a moment and go through. Jenna, do you want to take a moment and kind of talk about how any other of the themes 6 through 12, or how they kind of are a result of the earlier ones? Because these actually aren't just 12 random thoughts. They actually all fit together.
Sure. I think I'm following you here.
Oops. Well, yeah, I mean, I could talk about it, or you could talk about it, but basically, once that we really start to clean up and are rooted in some of these, in having to do it all alone and being triggered by all the problems of the world, as we start to dismantle those negative belief patterns and really embody feeling grounded in self-expression and connecting with our spiritual identity and clearing, as we continue to do these practices, the other ones become a lot easier. The higher numbers become a lot easier to move through. Right. That was really where it was going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to say with number 6 specifically.
Yes.
It's sometimes it's the thought that it's too difficult, to start shifting things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, it may be uncomfortable, but it's that you're learning how to kind of step out of your comfort zone and your safe zone. Some people do the same thing day in and day out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really not, fully expressing themselves. And so maybe it is that you're ready to leave your job, and you're really scared. Some people just stay in that same continuous pattern and just live miserably. So knowing that you have a choice is very important.
Right.
And
Right.
empowering.
Right. I'd rather just things happen, because this way I don't have to make a stink. I don't have to piss anybody off, and so you're literally staying safe. I love that you really pointed that out. And what happens when you realize that your voice matters is you can make decisions. You can, boom, create right relationships with self and others. You can really start to feel comfortable in your own skin, right? After you really work through some of those core beliefs that the world is responsible for your suffering. And especially in today, my gosh darn it, there is so much evidence about how screwed up the world is, and it is not my fault. And people think that taking responsibility means that it's their fault. I said that kind of as a joke, but really, The joke is that when you take responsibility for yourself, not other people's sense of your integrity and responsibility, but your own life and your own results and your own experiences, there's actually a freedom there. It really dismantles a lot of these other pieces. And then we go back through it again and again. Is this making sense, you all? Number 6, yeah, I get that. Thank you, Mary. Yes. Yes, yes. Okay. Go ahead, Janet. Let's just go through them. Why not?
All right.
We have 15 minutes.
I was kind of feeling that too.
Yeah.
So eight is interesting. So being a Reiki practitioner, I work with energy. I aid in assisting others healing, guided by themselves. And I was always energized after doing a healing session, but a lot of practitioners always shared with me that they were really depleted after holding space. And
me too. Same.
And I was always kind of like, maybe you're losing yourself in the session. Maybe you're not clear with your boundaries. And this one too is big with, really coming back to yourself, really coming back to your heart, if you do feel like you're losing yourself, and just asking yourself what's true for you.
Right. And it's really big with empaths. I don't know if I thought that's what you were going to say, like, which is most people in our community are empaths. So if you just feel everything, it's so easy to get lost. Right. So absolutely, like, really learning to tune into your own intention will help keep you grounded and have really strong boundaries. Yeah, I love that the positive self-esteem trait here you put is ability to access inner desire. Did you put that or did I do that?
I did.
Anyway, it's cool. I don't know which one of us did that, but that's really rich because it is kind of keeping your own, it's not even your own head about you. It's your own will, really strong, and not letting other people's energy take over. It's very powerful. Yeah. Keep going.
I think, yeah. And intention. Yeah. I think intention, desire, your yes, it's important.
That's right.
To not lose sight of that. Are you a giver? Woo! Are we all givers in this room? Probably. So, the negative impact of that is really feeling depleted. Giving to a blended of 5 kids, and working full time, working overnights, exhaustion was definitely a theme for me until I learned how to really fill my own cup and come into self-love and taking those action steps and having it really be a practice in my life.
So if that's true for you, y'all, do a click, check the box in the document. Also, you guys can print it. You should be able to download it and print it. And if not, then let me know after the workshop and I'll make sure I send it to you.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. And when we have good boundaries, we know through the embodied awakening work that when we have good boundaries, then we're able to start filling our cups so much better, and the way that we give begins to be more sustainable. It's just amazing, really, how the sequential energies of these stories really work together. I wasn't planning on getting into that aspect in the workshop, but it just seems really helpful to share. Because there's developmental stages to healing and awakening that it's tricky to track unless you go really deep into the study like we have. And I don't mean that from a big ego perspective, but to find your voice, or to feel safe to be seen, not just being heard. does require a self-esteem that's embodied so that your energy is not out in other people's, and you don't feel like other people are trying, they can't suck your energy. You know, as I look at number 10 here, you know, you're not out of the moment when you can really start to come into your own sovereign energy field. Right. Do you want to finish up with 11 and 12?
Yep. Are you anxious? I get a lot of people that are like, I have anxiety. And you know, what I've kind of learned anxiety is like kind of fear of the future, right? You know, not unsure, or, you know, things might be unstable. So they're kind of in that, what's going to happen, and really just allowing yourself to, you know, feel aligned, you know, because when you're feeling anxious, it's a disconnect, you know, between the heart and the mind, you know, or
And the
certain
body.
in certain aspects in the body. Yes, that was my next comment.
Mm.
So are you physically and mentally aligned? Or that is the remedy.
Right. And if you don't feel like you're able to have good boundaries, it's really hard to stay present because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to be in your skin because you don't know where your skin begins and others
Right.
necessarily end.
True.
So again, just adding that little sequential reminder that these all stack up.
And the last one, do you feel stuck? You know, not really knowing how to move forward. You know that there's something there. There's this like, this like urge and this like nudge, like that things can be done differently, and really not knowing how.
Mm.
And sometimes you get into like pointing the finger to other people. It's the moon, it's Mercury in retrograde. I mean, it can be those things too, but it's also having a practice where you can ride out those energies, you know, and really be in flow with what's happening in the world. And that comes from being really rooted and believing in yourself,
Mm.
and that you have connection to universal energy.
Mm. Yeah. And when you do all these things, authentic trust and belief in your own self and your own abilities is just there. Any questions or share? That was so good, Janet. Thank you. I love your
That was
voice.
nice.
Any questions or shares about that so far? About from anything in the workshop, feel free to post in the chat box. Anything you want to say about self-esteem, Janet? And about clearing these patterns? Or is that my job? Is it my turn?
I think that was going to be your next thing. So yes, now that we've gotten a little bit into what might be in the way, Narayani is going to talk a little bit on, you know, how you can start creating a new way of being, and you know, what to do.
Great. And you're going to help me. We're talking together. Thank
Okay.
you guys for flowing with us. It's really, this is the first time we're doing this workshop. We facilitate within Awaken Life School trainings together. But this is a new thing. So thank you for flowing with us. We're like, what do we say next? I don't know. What do you want to say? What's happening? Good chart, helpful stuff, I think. Oh, great, Mary. Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So, right. So when we start to understand some of those remedies and how things, you know, work together, we are starting to come into a way of working with our energy, and we have the opportunity to create a new story and come into vibrational alignment. If your intention is to, again, speak your truth so that you can be heard, so that you can experience healthy relationships where you're heard and other people are heard, then working with your energy can absolutely help you to create a new story in your life with new results when you recalibrate vibrationally. And that requires some kind of shifting mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and physically. And that's why we love to train people in working with embodied awakening. In my practice as a healer for 20 years, as a coach, and as a meditation teacher, I find that integrating the practices of the left and right brain, the yin and the yang path, help us to really access our potential in a way that is not just psychological, but literally physiological and spiritual all together. It's very cool. And this is what we call vibrational alignment. So whether you work with sound healing or crystals or ceremony, or if you do visualization or meditation that is embodied meditation, or work with the way that we work with the 12 themes, getting yourself into the energy field of a new way of being is how you can create the story that allows you to be heard, allows you to be seen, and really speak up from a place of your deep heart. Do y'all want to know how to do that? How we do that? Do you feel like you do that? I'd love to hear kind of anything that you want to talk about, any questions you may have around embodying your new voice, right? Elizabeth Jean says, yes. Yes. So the first thing that I want to suggest is that you literally look at that chart and you find the strongest piece for you. Find the strongest piece for you. So even though maybe you clicked 4 or 5 of them, circle the one that is your truth. It sounds like a lot of work, I know. Well, it's how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go, right? So with the embodiment work that we do with Awaken Life Tribe, we have a couple of ways to work with you. We do have an immersion that's happening starting this spring. We also have online downloadable courses. What we want to offer you today is an opportunity to go deeper. And by the way that we're offering you to go deeper, Janet, will you grab that link from our shared co-creative document? You know which one I mean?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for your schedule. Yeah. So the way that we're going to actually offer you to go deeper today is to schedule some time with our beloved Janet Hoffman, who's offering free consults for people who attend this workshop. And someone who I've seen go through such deep transformation to find her voice can absolutely help you find what it is that is in your way of finding your own voice. And so we decided, instead of just opening up trainings right away, that we will put a little buffer in there and give you an opportunity to speak with Janet and have a consult, whether in that consult you get a sense of what your next step is on your own, or if it's a fit for you to join one of our trainings. We have not yet launched and let people know publicly about our spring training, but on your consult with Janet, if it's a fit, she will absolutely share with you about the spring training, who it's for, and the different options that are available for you. Specifically, Janet put a bunch of appointments on her calendar. I would absolutely recommend grabbing your consult with Janet, whether or not you are interested to do any trainings or just want to take advantage of this free offer. She will break down for you more of what energies you can start to work with and maybe other action steps that we don't even know right now once you get personal, to be able to prepare to find your voice in a way that may require a longer term strategy or maybe a simple just mini step, depending on what you're up for, what you're ready for, and what seems like it's in alignment. Anything you want to say, Janet, about your offering?
Yeah, I have some availability this weekend. So if you're really interested, I do believe I have some this afternoon and even on Sunday. Yeah, really just happy to, be in curiosity with you and what's alive for you after listening to this engaged, inspiring talk.
Yay. Awesome. I'm trying to grab this link and also put it. Now, how long are these consults? They're a whole hour. Oh my goodness. That's very generous. Mine are,
I feel like sometimes it definitely needs an hour.
mine are now 20 minutes. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I definitely recommend put a yes, please, in the chat box if you guys are planning on taking Janet up on this generous session, so we can know to look for you and also follow up with you if there's any if we don't see you, then we'll reach out and check in. Just put a yes if you know that you want to, or simply go and just book your time if you prefer privacy there.
And if you're rewatching this at a different time, I'll definitely share the link. So, if you are inspired and you want to have a conversation, you can book a time with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Janet. Oh my gosh. I just love how we just get to figure things out. We don't have to have it all together. Same thing with finding your voice. It's really like that. Let me go back to the end of this. I'm sorry. I'm like trying to find the, I have so many windows open. Just give me a second. Can you guys see the slides? Okay. Would you like to go deeper slide? Okay. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us. Everything is vibration. And I guess the one thing I want to impart is that, you can definitely change your life and change these subtle ways that you speak up, but it isn't instant, and it does require a willingness to go really deep and do certain practices that will prepare you to kind of rewire your vibration. And you can do that on your own with sound healing and prayer, or you could do that with us or with people that are going to really be able to hold you in a safe container and inspire you and hold you accountable. And so that's the invitation for this consult with Janet, as well as for future workshops. So we're sending you big loves. Feel free to share any questions if you would like to. I'll answer that question in a second. If you feel like you want other people to be part of this community, please do invite them to Awaken Life Tribe Facebook group. You can definitely, let them know. And so then they will have access to all of these free trainings and other trainings that we'll be doing in March, which will start to have some fees, but they'll be reasonable cost, low cost fees for the trainings in March. Mary asks, can you flesh out some of the work you do, i.e. example of remedy for number 2Z. I think that means 2, the 2Z, maybe specify. Yes, absolutely. Some of the work that we do involves, for a couple of them, a remedy for a couple of them. Or is it working with couples? Is that for working with a couple of things on the chart? You pick one or two. Okay. 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 Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, we work with embodied awareness. We teach you how to work with your own energy field, basically, and integrate embodied meditation practices as well as mindfulness practices. So in your consult, Janet may suggest that you go deeper into a training with us, or she might go tell you to just go sit on a rock and meditate on your breath for a month before you come back to us. Or maybe you need a Reiki session before you start, right? So it's not exactly going to be the main method, but the work that we do is embodied meditation and mindfulness that doesn't put it different than a lot of other activations. It doesn't actually put on like colors that your chakra should be or sounds or tones they should be. It actually helps you discover what exists in your own field and asks questions for you to begin to explore and tune in with the frequencies that already exist within your own physical, mental, emotional body. So we go in, like Janet mentioned, we go in with you in curiosity so you can see what's there and also claim your deepest knowing and truth, which is discovered when you peel back the layers in your aura, basically. Does that feel accurate, Hoffman? Is that a good answer?
It does. I think you really named it earlier. I always kind of see it as like, it's like a recalibration of your energy field, so maybe it's like really dull at this moment, but as you work more with the themes and this type of work, you really kind of learn to like brighten up and expand and just really know, who you are, and or start to learn how to know, who you are and what to do about it.
Right. Right.
Access your potential.
Right. How long is everyone doing this work? So I had a Kundalini awakening in 2002, and I was doing the work over 10 years. And then in 2012, the 12 Sacred Themes embodiment work came to me. And then I literally launched a program that my book is on that Janet facilitates. And we met in like 2018. So I've been facilitating this for 9 years. I've taken many people, over 80 people through it. 85 people through very intense work, but introduced it to many more. And then Hoffman has been doing this particular form of embodiment work since 2017, 2018, 2018, but she was already a Reiki master when she found me. So she got it really quickly and really started, she already knew how to run her energy. So that's why she excelled, and she's in the mentor path. You're welcome, Mary. We look forward to getting to know you more. Thanks for being so engaged. Todd, also great to see you. Feel free to book your time with Janet if you want to connect. Who wouldn't want to connect with Janet? She's amazing. Eli as well. Do book your times. And for those of you watching the replay, take advantage of this free offer because Janet is so kind and generous. And we will be having a really special program, a new program that starts in the spring. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for showing up. And thank you, Hoffman, for being here today, especially being on the fly with me putting slides together last minute and everything. I so appreciate it.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll sometimes. Yeah. It's funny. I realized we were going to do a meditation today. I didn't even do a meditation. So that's odd. Usually we do meditations, but because of time, we're just going to let go. But maybe if you guys are lucky and you do a consult with Janet, she will lead you through a sample meditation of running the energy to help you take us to a next level. Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in the juicy hour. You'll have a whole hour. So you should be able to run the energy there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Mwah. I'm going to end the Facebook. Thank you so much for coming. And if you watch a replay, you're welcome, Eli. Press hashtag replay. And we're going to end this recording and we're going to end the call. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.